Hey there, I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I am out in the shop today and I have a little bit of a problem. Actually, it's a big problem with one of my Milwaukee M18 batteries. When you press the little button, it says it's out of juice, needs charged. When I put it on the charger, it shows green that it's fully charged, and obviously it's not taking a charge. I did a little investigating. I saw a hack where you can jump one battery to another to rescue these things. So I'm gonna see if we can make that work. I really need this battery. This is an 8 amp battery. This is the biggest battery I have. I should have a 12 to run my, my Milwaukee chainsaw and my weed eater, but I get by with this 8. So it's super important that I get this thing back up and running. These things are not cheap if you try and buy them by themselves. Well, let's see if we can rescue this poor battery.
Cross my name off the list. This is without rhyme or reason. I'm not an optimist. I just never dress for the season. There's no reason. It's time to pay off all my attempts to make a bad move. Procrastination, deep down I need to take a wrong turn. I don't know how long's forever. We could never stick together that long. Let it all just blow to pieces. Shine your light, I know you need me to turn your life around completely. Give me one more paradox for grace. Be still and run the race. Be still and run the race. Good time to beat it. I'll take anything that
All right, so I've jumped my hot to hot and negative to negative. I'm gonna keep an eye on these things. Last thing I want to do is burn my shop down by causing a fire. So I'm keeping an eye on the cables to make sure that they're not getting too hot. And I'm gonna let this sit for about 15, 20 minutes and then come back and check it. Interesting. So I just stuck this on the charger and it showed green like it had before, like it wasn't going to charge. But now when I hit the power, it's showing 3. So let me go stick this back on the charger. I thought I had maybe failed, but let's try this again. Well, still showing green. I might cycle that on and off the charger a couple times and then try it in something. We're experimenting here. We'll see what happens. Okay, we're in a drill now. Okay, it's running. All right, I'm gonna have to come back to this project. It has not fixed it. It may be the circuit board in here, I'm not sure, but back to Mr. Google Pants I go to try and figure this one out. Well, I took the garbage up to the road to be picked up. I don't know if anybody else takes the garbage up in their tractor, but it was heavy today and I didn't feel like lugging it up the driveway. Actually, we used to always, at our last place, we used to always take the garbage up in the tractor, or we'd tow it behind the truck because it was a long driveway. And this one's a little longer, but not terrible. Anyhow, so sorry, squirrel. Anyhow, I pulled the tractor into the shop today. So I really want to put some 3/8 clevis hooks on this bucket. There's nothing to tie down to when you got stuff that's, you know, kind of big and bulky. Sometimes it's hard to keep it in the bucket. For example, trash cans. And I've always wanted to put some 3/8 clevises on this thing. That way I can use chains, chain binders, or just use them to attach ratchets or whatever. Just some sort of anchor point on this bucket. I think today's the day we're gonna put these things on here. Well, I've considered putting a D-ring on the outside here. That's the bolt hole where my breaker teeth go through for the bucket. But I like having those teeth on there when I'm digging, especially in the real hard clay soil that we have. So I don't want to do away with that. I'm thinking about drilling a hole somewhere in this bucket to mount these things. So there's some extra meat up here that I think would be about perfect for these things. I could also drill another hole low. I've seen online they do make mounts and things that mount deeper up here into these holes up here. Let me think on this for a sec. So on the back of this bucket, we also have this little cast ring here, which I've used sometimes for tie downs. It doesn't necessarily appear to be super heavy duty. But I guess as long as I'm not just like reefing on these things, that would probably work actually, and I don't even have to drill anything. Well, that was way too easy. I'm gonna run with that for a little bit, see if I like it. If I do, I'll keep it. If not, I'm gonna drill some holes and go with the original plan. So that's pretty exciting. I had one project go sideways and another one go really, really easy. So I guess 1 for 2 ain't bad. Very upset bee that came in. He's attacking the light. One simple thing that I've done that actually is really nice is I actually come over here and I hung up my weed eaters on this sidewall. This is the cabinets and everything that I've just done, and on the sidewalls where I put the wood rack. And then right next to that, I've got some outdoor stuff and my tool belts and things. And I actually hung both of our weed eaters up here, both our big steel and then our little battery powered Milwaukee. The reason that I really like that is because prior I was hanging them off of that rafter right there. So guess what? I also get to my air compressor all the time. I always get to the garage door opener over here all the time, and there's a table saw here. So I couldn't really, I was always like reaching in, trying to like reach it through and hit that button or plug in my air compressor, those sort of things. So now we're a much lower profile now to the shop doors here, and I'm not struggling to reach in and get the things that I want. So simple little change, but man, I am digging that already. All right, I got this thing all torn apart. We're making good voltage across everything. So I'm thinking it's something wrong with the circuit board, not wanting to let it recharge. I don't know why. This isn't that old of a battery. Everything looks really good inside. So I am left puzzled. I've never resoldered a circuit board. I may try to order a circuit board. I'm not sure. I'll go do some research on that. But for now, I've got a torn apart battery, which is no different than the put together battery. Either way, they don't work. So, all right, I will figure this out one way or another. All right, so this Milwaukee battery repair video is taking a hard right turn or left turn or however you want to say it. We're gonna do something completely different than I had intended to do. So I was about that close to pulling the trigger on an aftermarket circuit board off of Amazon, right? Just so happened my brother-in-law called and we were talking about some other stuff, and I mentioned, hey, I'm thinking, I'm working on a battery and I'm thinking about, doing that. He said, well, before you do that, let me tell you my experience from last week. He uses a ton of Milwaukee stuff. And so he ordered a $9 aftermarket switch for one of his tools that had stopped working, and got it, installed it, and went to pull the trigger and just about caught on fire because it short-circuited. So even though it was supposed to be for that, sometimes, things on the internet aren't what they appear, right? So anyway, he was telling me about his nephew who had sent in some tools to their service department. Hadn't registered them, didn't have the receipts. He just, the serial numbers off the tools, and had a great experience with it. And they sent a new product to replace it. I kind of looked through the website. They can do, if stuff's out of warranty, they can repair it. They will bill you. You kind of make that determination, or obviously if it was an abuse factor or something like that. But anyhow, so this battery apparently has a 3-year warranty on it, which I thought was only a 1 year, so that's awesome. I also have my skill saw that the switch stopped working on it. I was running some really long cuts of 1.5 inches on a 45 degree when I was doing some chainsaw milling, and the switch stopped working during that. So, but this also apparently has a 5-year warranty, so that should be under that time frame as well. So I'm gonna send my stuff in. My brother-in-law said that it took like 6 weeks, so we're gonna send it in. We're gonna see what happens, and I'll report back in 6 weeks and let you know how my experience was. I will say, just from the initial side of it, it's service.milwaukeetool.com. Just from an ease of use, I added all the tools on my phone out here in the shop. Just search for them on their website, add them to your cart basically, and they just manufacture all the shipping documents for you, including the hazmat stuff you got to put on the outside. They give you instructions. It was actually a really simple process, and then you can print the shipping documents from your phone if you're linked to a wireless printer. I just went back inside, printed them real quick, and away we go. So, all right, I'm gonna get these things packaged up, send them off, and I guess I'll have to continue this in 6 weeks or so. I'll make sure to pop back on and update you guys on how this process went.